Welcome to the Early Wedge Tuesday Best Bet Show. I'm your host, Eric Cohen. It is the last week of the regular season. Can you believe it? I certainly can. We only have, 4 more of these shows to go before it's football season? Just wild. But hey, we enter this week off an incredible 40-1 win, courtesy of one Jason Sobel. So let's bring in the stars of the show and celebrate right now. We have Mr. Sobel, who you can find all over the place, BetMGM, SiriusXM, CBS Sports, you name it. We have Patrick McDonald from CBS Sports. He's also everywhere. And a guy that is, he's everywhere on this channel and beyond, including SiriusXM. I know you're everywhere, Sia. It is Sia Nejad, the host of The Early Edge. All right, gentlemen. Sobel, I'm going to start with you. Kurt Kitayama, 40-1. What gave you that urge to put him in your outrights?
Trying to think back to this show last week. He was a guy that had been trending nicely, had a 6th place finish in Minnesota the year before. Statistically, he's a guy that tends to pop, tee to green. He's usually pretty good, and so we're looking for that putter to get a little hot. Certainly did. 60-65 on the weekend is really good. How about the fact that Tim Tucker, his usual caddy, went back to the bag with Bryson DeChambeau for a 1 week, or what he thought was a 1 week sojourn last week to live, and Kitayama wins with his brother on the bag. That's the 3rd time that I can count in the last, 4 months that a player has won with a temp caddy. Justin Thomas had Joe Griner on the bag at the RBC Heritage. Sepp Straka at the Truist had a buddy of his, a mini tour player, on the bag. And then last week with Kitayama, I don't know, maybe caddies don't matter as much as we think.
Have you compiled a list for us of temp caddies this week that's a good stat. It's a good trend. I like trends.
If I'm a player, I go fire my caddy this week and pick up a buddy.
EC, you can bet Morikawa at the St. Jude. There you go.
Listen, Patrick, he's on the no bet list. Normally I know this is before we get to storylines. Patrick, I saw something that made me think of you. I don't know if you've tweeted this out yet. I haven't looked at your X profile. There's a guy in Canada named Felipe Garapai. I probably messed that up. Who's putting with an 18-inch putter. And he was 3 under par. Should this be illegal? Should this guy lose his manhood, or is this the coolest thing you've ever seen?
I would love to know the series of events that took place that led him to using an 18-inch putter, right? What happened before all of that? I think legally 18 inches is the shortest allowed. Mm-hmm. And I would just say private equity enters the putter field this week with that firm that acquired Lab Golf for $200 million. And all of a sudden we're seeing the ripple effects throughout the industry where putters are now 18 inches that these guys have to use. So more of that's probably coming in store for players, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh.
Look at Sobel actually has one.
Telling me I couldn't make putts with this thing? Okay, true story. So they have these, the merchandise shop at the Masters. I get a few of them every year. They're baby gifts. Anyone I know during the year that has a baby, they get one with a year on it. So last year, I was telling Scotty Scheffler about it on Saturday night because we were talking about still the narrative of if his wife went into labor. He had a 2-shot lead, I think, going into the final round. He said, look, if it happens tomorrow morning, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm telling you. And so I told him they got some cool baby putters in the pro shop. He wasn't getting there. He was a little busy that day. So I had a few. A month later, the PGA Championship, I see Scotty. I go, oh, by the way, remember I was telling you about the putters? Here you go. This is for Bennett. So Bennett Scheffler has this in the bag somewhere.
Whoever goes to the Masters next year, I'll send you money just to get one of those. I need that in my collection, even though it would kill my back. By the way. All right, Sia, let's actually get back to the Wyndham Championship this week. So this is an event where it's actually one of the strongest fields that we've seen for a non-signature event. Is this the type of tournament coming off a Kurt Kitayama 40-1 win that you're like, yes, I got this? Last year, Aaron Rai right here, so I'll take it. Do you feel confident this week, or are you a little like, okay, too many guys, too many uncertainties heading into the playoffs next week?
As far as it being a talented field, I think it is in name at the top, but I think a lot of the guys at the top are plenty of blemishes on their reputation right now. So, I think this is kind of anyone's game when it comes to the odds. I actually liken it. I know it's a more talented field than last week, but I liken it to last week. You switch out Sam Burns, you switch out Chris Goddard up, and you got guys like Fitzpatrick, Ben Griffin, Keegan Bradley, obviously Spieth and Matsuyama, Robert McIntyre in that mix. But I think, again, when we get to the non-Scotty tournaments, which are the non-signature events, non-majors, I really think there's so many that can contend here. So this is actually going to be a really interesting card for me because I'm going way down the board, and I'm actually saving a little bit of my bankroll for a live outright, which of course we'll find out after Thursday or Friday. But I just wanted to put that out there. I think there's a lot of people in play this week.
So let's get to our storylines, and that is presented by 5 Hour Energy. It is time for the storyline segment, sponsored by 5 Hour Energy's new transfusion flavor, inspired by golf's unofficial cocktail. It has hints of grape, lime, and ginger. No alcohol needed. Head to your local retailer, 5hourenergy.com, to order yours today. All right, so Sia, we kind of talked about another non-Scotty tournament, anyone's game. Sobel, I'm going to turn it over to you first. You kind of have a narrative that you want to dispel this week.
So EC, I'll get to it in a second. I know we don't feed the trolls on here, but there's a comment from MD at 7:03, 4 minutes ago. In response to me picking Kitayama last week, when you put 25 names out there, of course one is going to hit. Clown emoji, complete dork. MD, we take 3 outrights on this show every single week. I don't know. There's 150 guys in the field.
Yeah, MD.
You know what? I don't know. Should I just pick one? You want me to just pick one instead of 3? That's fine.
This is like the one show where you actually cannot make that accusation. It's just such a funny comment to happen on this show. I see cards on Twitter all the time, and no disrespect to any of those guys, but that would be where you'd lay the criticism, where there's like 8 to 10 outrights. Right. We're picking 3 and a couple sprinkles on a couple of long shots here and there. Like like I've never seen MD in the comments. And that makes sense, right? He just thinks we just put out a bunch of outrights. Like, we limit our outrights in a huge way relative to other shows. So thanks for coming out, MD.
And I'm going to say this. If I had put out 25 guys last week, Kurt Kitayama would not have been one of them. So, Sobel, congratulations. I mean, that's 1/6 of the field, and I wouldn't have had it. So, you know what? Congratulations, because you deserved it. Okay. Tell us about your storyline this week.
All right, so everyone knows last regular season event of the year, top 70 after this week, get into the playoffs. And look, we all like to take a little walk down narrative street, play a little strokes gain motivation. And I love doing that. Look, it helps content. It's easier to talk about guys who have something on the line and are playing to accomplish something. That said, over the last 2 years, it's very rarely happened. In fact, last year, you know how many players moved into the top 70 from before the Wyndham till after? 0. Nobody got into the playoffs who was on the outside looking in going into the Wyndham. The year before, 1. It was Lucas Glover. He was 112th going into the week, and he had to win the tournament to get into the playoffs. So I know we like to look at guys who are 74th, 78th, 85th on the list right now and say, all right, they're motivated. They need to get into the playoffs. Maybe this year it turns around. Look, maybe everything changes and 9 guys work their way into the top 70. But what we've seen the last couple of years, since they've gone from 125 in the playoffs to 70, it just doesn't happen very much.
So what's the significance of top 100 this week? Guys that stay in that doesn't ensure anything, doesn't ensure their tour card. They have to still play in the fall, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it's top 70 or bust.
There's plenty of time for those guys to work their way back into keeping their cards for next year. So I'm not even worried about that as far as the narrative.
Patrick, one of the great Seinfeld episodes was about the Bubble Boy, and this week your storyline is about Bubble Boys. And are there a couple names you're paying attention to?
I've never seen Seinfeld, so
what?
That's not true.
Whoa, that one's
true?
over my head. That one's unfortunately over my head. So to my storyline presented by 5 Hour Energy, it is Bubble Boys, like you mentioned, EC, and Sobel just said no bubbles will be popped on the top 70 this week, but I'm looking a bit deeper. I'm looking beyond the St. Jude Championship. I'm looking at other tournaments. Bubble Boy Jordan Spieth, number 50 right now, trying to get into the BMW Championship. Remember, Jordan Spieth heavily criticized for all the sponsor invites that he's gotten into signature events. You're in the top 50. Guess what? You're in all the signature events in 2026. You throw in Tony Finau as well, Ricky Fowler too, Aaron Rise, a Bubble Boy in that regard, Matt Fitzpatrick just barely inside the top 50. And then the other bubble. There's a certain tee time the first 2 rounds that consist of U.S. Ryder Cup captain Keegan Bradley, Ben Griffin, and Andrew Novak. There's a bubble right there, right? That's like full-on Lehman Brothers bubble alert. Shout out to Michael Burry. And so a lot of guys who have a lot to play for outside of just the initial FedEx Cup playoffs.
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah, me too.
I know the gist of it, right? I know the gist of it. There's Kramer. There's George Costanza, a.k.a. Jason Alexander. My sister actually used to represent him.
Really?
Who else do we have? We have
Jerry Seinfeld.
Ross, Chandler, Joey. They're
Oh.
in the mix.
Sia, help him out. I know he's a youngin, but Sia, help him. You're the TV pop culture guy here. Please help.
Jennifer Aniston, of course.
Yeah, don't forget about Niles and Eddie too.
Yes,
on
Ted
Seinfeld.
Mosby, right?
Yeah.
Barney
Yes.
Stinson.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep, the very same.
What are we doing here? Patrick, homework this week. You have to come back for next Tuesday's show with 3 Seinfeld references.
And look, Ian Lights Out has it. Julia Louis Dreyfus. I know it's Louise. I know it's Louise,
Yeah.
right?
Elaine. Yeah.
You're-
Elaine, that's the one I was missing. Great dancer. I know that reference.
All right, Sia, I inadvertently, great episode, Witchy Woman. All right, Sia, I know I gave away your storyline a little bit earlier. In your opinion, we're gonna do a bonus because we're talking pop culture. Where does Seinfeld rank among the top sitcoms of all time? In your opinion?
So I actually have quite the take on this because me and Pat Mayo did a sitcom bracket where we had 64 shows ranked just like March Madness, and we did podcasts on each one. We had East Region, West Region, so on and so forth. We had Seinfeld as a 1 seed in one of the regions. I had Frasier as a 1 seed, and I was doing the rankings, by the way. Frasier's my all-time favorite, but Seinfeld is definitely a number 1 seed. I don't know if it's the number 1 show, but it's certainly a number 1 seed all time.
Sobel, where does that rank in your list?
Seinfeld is right there. Curb is right there for me.
Yeah.
You go back in the day, Cheers is probably right there.
Two
If you really want to spread it out over decades, it's probably not as good, but it had sustainability. You go MASH. If you want to go back in the day, so you kind of span the generations a little bit, those might be the 1 seeds right off the top of my head. I'm probably missing a couple in there, but
Patrick, you gotta check out Seinfeld. I mean, there's some amazing episodes. All right, you know what? You also have to check out the fact that it's a storyline with an EC trend this week. I know you've all been waiting for this one. So my storyline this week is, does recent success equal Wyndham Championship success? Actually, if you look at it, the last 4 winners in each of their last 4 events had at least 2 top 10 finishes. You look at Lucas Glover, Tom Kim, Aaron Rye, and then Kevin Kisner 4 years ago, and I did those out of order. So there are 9 players this week that fit that bill. Matt Fitzpatrick, Pearson Coody, Lucas Glover, Jake Knapp, Kurt Kitayama, David Lipsky, Robert McIntyre, William Mao, and David Skins. 9 players, according to this trend, that can win this tournament this week. Are we buying? This is 4 years in a row. I think that's a legitimate trend. Patrick, you buying or selling?
Did you made this one up?
I did.
Okay,
it's real. It's a real trend. It's a real trend.
I'm gonna sell this one. This one.
I've got a couple of guys, they're long shots, mind you, on my outright card that are on this list. And I will tell you that the one that's not on there's 2 that are on there, actually 3 that I really very much considered. And it was Knapp, Glover, and Pearson Coody.
I see your long shots and my long shots have some synergy. I'll just point that out. There will be a parlay related to this later in the show. So take notes and study. Sobel, buy or sell this trend that I gave?
You know what? The fact that Patrick has never seen Kramer at the end of an episode go, is that a titleist? As some of the folks in the chat just said. That eliminates him from any sort of opinion on anything right now. He's in 5 minutes of timeout. And so Patrick says, no, I'll just go with yes. I'll be on your side, EC.
Thank you.
Don't like this.
Thank you.
Don't like this.
All right. 9 players can win this event based on this trend. Let's see if it holds up. All right. That was the storyline segment sponsored by 5 Hour Energy's new transfusion flavor with as much caffeine as a premium cup of coffee, 0 sugar in a compact bottle. 5 Hour Energy is ready when and where you are, whether that be on the green or in the rough. So grab your crew, get your energy, and tee off with 5 Hour Energy's new transfusion flavor, available in stores or online at 5hourenergy.com. And I want to thank 5 Hour Energy for helping me win my playoff quarterfinal matchup in my golf league. I don't want to I know we can't say that it was 100% due to 5 Hour Energy. Let's just say it didn't hurt. So, hey, I'm on to the semis. I'll take the wins where I can.
It wasn't you. It had to be the 5 Hour Energy.
It definitely wasn't me.
How many did you have?
I had one, Patrick. Just one.
Maybe two.
Just one. When I'm hitting it from 161 yards to 2 feet, it's not me. There's something else in play here. All right, let's move on to first round leaders. This is where we excel. Patrick, you're going with a single bullet at 125 to 1. Where in the heck did you come up with Ben Coles?
It's a good question, EC. And I'll be honest, I saw PGA Tour comms tweet out the tee times. I saw Ben Coles in the very first tee time off, first guy on the golf course. And I was like, this guy's playing some pretty decent golf, right? Was just there at the ISCO, had a good run at the 3M Open, opened the ISCO with a 68, opened the 3M with a 66. You look at his record at the Wyndham Championship, absolutely putrid, very, very stinky. But he opened last year's tournament with a 66, and in 2022, he opened with a 65. So this is a guy who's very accurate off the tee. He's hitting the ball a lot better, and first guy on the golf course, very smooth greens, a bit more receptive. I think he has a chance to go low, somewhere in the low 60s, and post and give us a full day sweat for the first round leader.
Patrick, if you hit Ben Coles, I will chug this 5-hour energy during this segment next week.
I want 2 of them, EC. If I hit a first round leader and an outright this week, you have to go 2.
2. Oh man. Mm-hmm. All right. Challenge accepted. Deal.
Thank you.
5-hour energy. I may need you to send me some more of these, please, if you don't mind. All right, Sobel, you got 2 more respectable names, a couple of guys that are more household names. Yeah, start with Max Homa.
Yeah, so I haven't been on Homa since he started playing a little bit better golf. It almost feels like you just want to leave him alone. Let him work on things in peace, let him come back. And I think a lot of people are rooting for Max to play some better golf, and it's starting to come around. Last week in the first round at the 3M, we saw him at 18 of 18 greens in regulation, just couldn't get the putter going, shot 66, which is just fine, but could have been something really special in that opening round. These things have a way of evening out, and I just wonder if Max Homa this week on Thursday doesn't hit the ball as well, but just can't miss and just goes out there and puts lights out. So we've seen him play good golf in the state of North Carolina before with a few wins at Quail. So I will start with him at 70 to 1. And then Chris Kirk, and I know Sia's on Kirk as well this week. He's been playing very, very well in opening rounds, just get off to some really good starts in his last few events. So I'll take a shot on Chris Kirk at what I think is a really good number at 80 to 1.
Sia, you're the official weatherman of this program. Please give us an outlook for Thursday and then your 5 picks.
Well, the good news for the morning and the afternoon, I mean, obviously there is always going to be that preference with a more receptive course in the morning, but the winds don't seem to be high really at all this week. Although Saturday and Sunday, they might pick up a little bit, but it's pretty flat across Thursday and Friday as it stands right now on a Tuesday night. So I did include one afternoon guy. There's a lot of long shots here. I would say 3 that are not long shots and 2 that are very much long shots. Emiliano Grillo, we can talk about him. I talked about him on the early edge. I had some fun on Sunday night for those that were following that Twitter thread that I did. Emiliano Grillo, I actually got him at 75 to 1. It's down to 65 to 1 in some places in terms of the outright, but I like him as a first round leader. Say the same about Seabez at 70 to 1. There's a lot of things tracking for him. We'll probably talk about him later as well. I will say that I don't know that I think Seabez is going to win the tournament. I like him a little bit better for a first round leader. Chris Kirk, just really like what I'm seeing from Chris Kirk in terms of the stats. I think he could absolutely spike. And then speaking of spiking, Svensson and Lipsky, I don't think can win this tournament, but we saw Svensson spike last week. He has good history here. Lipsky's been great across his last 4 tournaments. I could see them doing it for around 110, 120 to 1.
All right. I like it. All right. Moving on to the next section of the show. But first, we have something. I'm just looking ahead at the rundown. I'm sorry. I'm kind of distracted. This is the first time in 24 weeks of the show that we have a group pick. And I was so shocked to see that. Sobel, I've never seen a group pick. We're going to find out what that is after we hear from one of our sponsors.
Here we go. The 2025 CBS Sports NFL schedule is here. 18 glorious Sundays.
He's got his receiver touchdown.
Filled with rematches.
Oh, the play of the year.
And rivalries.
Touchdown, Bengals.
Plus, plenty of superstar showdowns. And an epic matchup between the Chiefs and Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Clear your Sundays beginning September 7th for the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
When it comes to these groups that these sports books put out every week, you kind of wonder, like, how do they put them together? Well, Sobel, you finally found one that you really, really like. Who is it? Who do they have to beat, and why?
Yeah, so I wanted some Harry Hall exposure this week. I didn't love his number in the outright market. I could have just said Harry Hall top 20 or something, and that would have been fine. But I feel like we're getting a really nice number here on four guys who are admittedly bigger names, but none of these guys really scare me a lot on this golf course. Aaron Rise, the defending champion, obviously he has the game to play well at Sedgefield, but hasn't been great lately. It certainly isn't trending the way he was coming into this one a year ago. Keegan Bradley's been fantastic all summer, but again, not really his type of golf course. He usually trends on golf courses where driver can be more of a weapon. Hideki's starting to come back recently, but I'm not fully sold. And Jordan Spieth, the numbers are pretty good. We remember him losing in a playoff years ago here, but ever since then, I think nothing inside the top 50 in three starts ever since. So Spieth doesn't get me too excited. I think 5-1 in this Group B at BetMGM feels like a really nice play on Harry Hall.
And then talk about Ben Griffin and Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, again, same thing with Griffin. I wanted exposure on Griffin. He's too short for me to go after in the outright markets. Again, if you want him for a top 10, top 20, I like that. But getting him at plus money over Matt Fitzpatrick, who, quite frankly, is probably only playing this event to kind of show up for the Ryder Cup and show Luke Donald a little bit something a month ago. Fitzpatrick was certainly on the outside looking in, and he's probably worked his way onto that team right now. Needs to do maybe a couple more good things, and why not give himself another chance this week? But when a guy plays an event that he usually doesn't play, when he puts it on the schedule, even though he usually skips it, that tells me it's not his kind of course. It's not where he wants to play, really. Fitzpatrick is kind of a creature of habit. He's a guy that's very analytical about his game. If he didn't want to play here in the first place, the fact he's going there this week just to maybe show off, get some Ryder Cup points, probably doesn't portend good things. So I don't mind fading him in this matchup against Griffin.
So it's interesting that you bring that up because Keegan Bradley is 10th in the FedEx Cup standings, has really no incentive to play this event, and he's partnered with Ben Griffin. Sia, is that part of the reason? Like, Keegan's hanging out, he's kind of, checking out a guy for his Ryder Cup team, playing with Griffin and his buddy Andrew Novak for the first two rounds. What's your thought on Bradley over Bob McIntyre?
I mean, both of these guys have really spiked lately. Both won lately. I think they're both good, but I think Keegan's the better course fit. That's really what I'm riding here because their recent form, both really good. I think Keegan's going to be more accurate off the tee. He's been pretty accurate off the tee and generally is. But everything else really checks out for me too. When I looked at the mid irons, when I looked at the ball striking, Keegan rated out a lot better than Robert McIntyre. I know Jason just mentioned Keegan, maybe not the best course fit here. That might be true, but I think it's more true for Robert McIntyre in my case than it is for Keegan Bradley. So I'm going to take Keegan minus 118 over Robert McIntyre. And then I'm going to the nationality market. I've done this before. Top African, Christian Bezuidenhout, plus 150. Tristan Lawrence, everybody knows I like Tristan Lawrence quite a bit. I just think Seabass is playing a lot better right now than Tristan Lawrence is, although I do think of these four players, Tristan, Eric Van Mooy, and Garrick Higo, Tristan is the one that scares me the most. I think EVR and Higo are going to miss the cut. I think there's a chance Tristan misses the cut. I think Seabass could actually contend in this tournament, but I also think he's going to make the cut here, and I think that might be enough to cash this plus 150.
And I'm going to tail Sia's top African market as well as maybe parlay that with the top Swedish market with Jesper Svensson. I know we talked about him. He's a Sia favorite. Zach in the chat always talking about him. So here's why I'm going with this guy to beat Alex Noren and Henrik Norlander. He's been great of late. Made seven cuts in his last 8 events. Back-to-back top 20s, gained strokes on the field, tee to green in each of his last 7 events. Now, Alex Noren's a favorite, as he should be. He finished T7 last week at the 3M Open, but had missed his previous 3 cuts. Not sure that in the best of form outside of last week. And at that number, he's a fade for me. And Norlander has not finished in the top 50 in his last 7 events. So he's out for me. I tried to bet him midway through the tournament last week without knowing that statistic. And, of course, I lost money. So you know what? He's an auto fade when you cost me money. Speaking of auto fades, just wait until you see what I have cooked up for outright. I can't believe I did it in outrights. Getting ahead of myself. All right, let's move on to finishing positions. Sobel has a name in here. I don't even know. Women's Open. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's start with a couple of top 40s from Patrick. That is.
Never change, you see. Never change. Yes, couple top 40s. Joel Damon, the Damon, 2-1. Obviously, did not have a great finish at the 3M Open, but still finished inside the top 40. Was T17 at the Barracuda before that as well, starting to play a lot better golf. You think on paper this should be a pretty good fit for him. He's very accurate off the tee, and he's a very good wedge player. The results have not been great. He's never finished inside the top 40 at the Wyndham Championship, but what he has done is make the cut. He's made 5 out of 6 cuts here, so I'm hoping with the little bit of form he has, he's going to be able to eke inside the top 40 at 2-1. And this is pure course history play of the week. Cam Davis, top 40, 2.5-1. Form is absolutely dreadful, but he has gone T7, T15, T22, and maybe he missed a cut in there in his 4 appearances at the Wyndham Championship. Cam Davis, he's like, I feel like he's not the king necessarily, but he's in the royal family of course history guys. When I think about his play at another Donald Ross design, Detroit Golf Club, where he has, of course, won a couple times. So I'm going to go Davis top 40 at 2.5-1 too.
I see. I love trends, Patrick. So you just warmed my heart with that one. Sia, we're going to go with you here. You talked about Grillo a little bit earlier. Plus 105 seems like a pretty good number for a top 40.
Yeah, and what I like about this too is that a lot of people, the thing about Grillo that I think people really question is his putter. Most of the time, that's what people are questioning, because his ball striking most of the time is pretty good, and it's certainly good coming into the Wyndham Championship. But he has gained with the putter in 3 of his last 5 tournaments. And last year when he played here, he actually had a pretty bad finish thanks to the around the green play, which could, again, be a problem for him this time. But he was actually neutral with the putter, and he was great with the ball striking. So expect the ball striking to be there. I expect the putter to be okay. That should fit him nicely inside the top 40 at plus 105. And then Chris Kirk, I decided to go top 20 here because there's 2 different versions of Chris Kirk. It's the bad one and it's the good one. And when you get the good one, he can win a tournament. He can be there on Sunday, or at least he can top 10 or top 20. When you get the bad one, I mean, like, I don't even bother with the top 40 market because he might miss the cut or finish like 59. So I think this is a worthy play to just grab the plus 320 or plus 300 if that's where it is at your book on Chris Kirk, because he's either going to splash or he's not. And that's why I think he's a good DFS play, and that's why I think he's a good top 20 and maybe even an outright play.
I respect that. I bet him last week outright. He gave me a cheap thrill for 2 rounds and then faded into oblivion. So same with Matty Schmidt, who should be banned on my list. I mean, that was pathetic what he did over the weekend. All right, so but let's just start with one play here. Jackson Cohen, who you laddered, I believe, 3 or 4 weeks ago and made some money off of him.
Thought about laddering him again this week. Look, if we've learned anything, EC, in professional golf over the last year and a half, it's that you don't have to be a professional to succeed in professional golf. Nick Dunlap won as an amateur at the Amex last year. Nick Clanton had 4 top 10s in 8 starts last year as an amateur. Lottie Woad, who we'll get to in a minute, I know you've never heard of her, but she was the number 1 ranked amateur. She won an LET event, finished 3rd at a major, turned pro, and won the Scottish last week in her first event at a major as a professional, and she's the favorite at the Women's Open this week. We'll get to her in just a second. Jackson Coyven, the number 1 ranked amateur in the world, has finished 11th and 6th in his last 2 PGA Tour starts. He's a North Carolina kid playing back in his home state. I know that a lot of times when we bet an amateur, it's like we're just sort of taking a little bit of a flyer, and we don't really look at the stats, the data. Coyven is a guy who's a precision-type player who puts the lights out. I talked to his coach at Auburn a few weeks ago, and he said when he gets inside 15 feet, the other guys just like walk off the grid. They're like, all right, that's good, just pick it up, because he just doesn't miss. And so at a place where putting is going to be very important, you're going to be able to make a whole lot of birdies. I think Coyven is a great play this week. I have a lot of them in DFS. I love him for a top 20. If you want to get more aggressive and ladder it up to a top 10, maybe even a top 5, I have no problem with that. And then EC, you're telling me you've never heard of Lottie Woad?
No idea.
Heard of her?
And never. And the other thing is a plus 160 for a top 5 is like almost Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy-esque.
Scotty and Lottie, 2 best players in the game right now. I'm telling you, she's the favorite at the Women's Open right now over Nelly Korda, over Gino Titakun. She is over Minjee Lee. She is maybe the best player. I don't know. I mean, there's a very small sample size, but I will tell you, she has played more links golf than most other top pros in the field. She is from England. They're playing at Royal Porthcawl in Wales this week. It's a very short number, right around 8-1 in the outright markets. I probably won't touch that, but I think she contends. I love that top 10 at -120. Essentially is a little bit of a parlay boost. EC, you like doing it with tennis matches? I'll throw Lottie in there, whether it's a Jackson Koiven top 20 or one of my outrights, just try to boost it up a little bit with Lottie getting into contention again this week.
Patrick, how do you feel about Lottie, as Sobel just pointed out?
I mean, we had Justin Ray on the Golf on CBS preview show, and he was saying, I forget the time frame. It must have been her last, 12 rounds, that she's gaining just about 5 strokes on the field in those 12 rounds. That is a ridiculous clip. If you think about what Scottie Scheffler did in the majors, he was about 3.5 per round. And Lottie Wood in her first 12 rounds, or not of her professional career, but in these last 3 tournaments is at 5.
I mean, all right. You sold me. Listen, if I can avoid betting tennis and I can parlay golf with golf, gives me a reason to tune in. Hey, I'm all for it. That's you guys sold me on that. I don't know about waking up at 3 a.m. as Sobel will probably do to watch these Lottie futures, but hey, to each their own.
No sleep.
Pass on that. Hey, so Jake Knapp's a Scottsdale, Arizona guy like I am, so we got to support him for a top 10. This number was at 4-1 yesterday, down to 3.6-1. He was T3 at the 3M Open. He was T4 at the Rocket Classic in June, playing really good golf. And the putter has been incredible. He gained nearly 11 strokes putting in a T22 finish at the Scottish Open. Too bad that his ball striking stunk. He's gained strokes on the field, tee to green, in 7 of his last 8 events. Never played here. I like the momentum. I love that he took a shot on the 18th at TPC Twin Cities and just came up a little short. But obviously it had settled. I think it was for a par, but he went for it, and you got to give him props for that. So we're going to bet him for a top 10 at plus 360. And then I think this is really great value, courtesy of FanDuel and their tourney specials for Matt Fitzpatrick and Ben Griffin at the top of the odds board to both finish inside the top 20, including ties. We're getting 4-1. Fitz has 3 straight top 10s. I know. I think it was Sobel. You don't like him this week. I mean, 3 straight top 10s, trying to impress Luke Donald to get on that Ryder Cup team. Sign me up. Ben Griffin, this is a guy from North Carolina, 2 top 10s in his last 3 here. I am all about it, as you will find out in the next segment. It is Ben Griffin time. Patrick made money with him earlier this year at Colonial. So did I. And this week we will make money with Ben Griffin again. But coming up next, there's one player I'm really concerned about on the do not bet list this week. Who is it? Find out after we hear from one of our sponsors.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, before we get to the do not bet list, Jeff in the chat has a good one for you, Sobel. Mia Hammond on the Epson Tour. Do you have anything about that?
Yeah, she's going to Duke next year. She's a high school senior playing in her home state of Ohio. Won on the Epson Tour last week, which is really cool and really impressive. But, I mean, Lottie Wode's doing it against the best players in the world. Like, that's great. She won on a minor league tour, and she's going to be a terrific talent, I hope, and everything comes to fruition. But, what Lottie's doing is historic stuff right now.
Is the Epson Tour like the Corn Ferry of the LPGA? Okay. Yeah, I was going to say I'd never heard of the Epson Tour. Oops, sorry. I mean, are we surprised?
Lottie Wode. Why would you hear the Epson Tour?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm not going to.
We'd be more concerned if you had heard of that tour. Let's be real.
I'm a football guy. I mean, come on. All right, let's bring up the do not bet list, which still remains mostly intact. If Victor Hovland hadn't blown it for us during the Florida swing, this would be a perfect list. I am really concerned about one Matt Fitzpatrick this week, playing really good golf with some weather expected over the weekend, some wind and some rain. Maybe not going to get as many low scores as we would expect. Sia, who should I be most concerned about on this list? You don't think it's Fitz?
No, I don't think Fitz is going to win. I don't think you should be concerned about anybody on this list. Adam Scott's not going to win. Cam Young's not going to win. Keith Mitchell's not going to win.
Nope.
Ricky Fowler, I think, is an interesting one, but no, you have nothing to worry about. None of these guys are winning.
And Sung Jae Im, Patrick.
No.
A few years ago, I had him as an outright. I think it was 2 years ago, and he completely folded down the stretch where Tom Kim beat him. Fortunately, I was able to cash out just in time. This tournament, I have a love-hate with this Wyndham Championship. It goes back to 2020.
Your ability to remember all of your losers is so impressive.
Encyclopedic.
Go ahead, Sobel.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to point out. I just want to point out an epic bad beat that I had at this tournament 4 years ago. So I had listed Russell Henley in my preview and all the shows I was doing, every platform. Russell Henley for a top 5 that week. Russell Henley was the 54-hole leader. He shared the lead going to the 18th hole. He had about a 5-footer on 18 to get into a playoff. He missed it. It was a 6-man playoff. He lost by 1 and did not cash top 5 tickets. It was the first time in 20 years, going back to the 2001 Nissan Open, where there was a 6-man playoff won by Robert Allenby. Brandel Chambly and my boy Dennis Paulson were also in that playoff. Emmanuel Canonica was the last player to finish 1 shot back and not cash a top 5 ticket before then.
They don't just give it like a T2? Everybody's a T2?
No, T7.
I do think in playoffs, they should have the finish as they actually finish. So like in Detroit, Chris Kirk should have been 3rd place.
Third.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, I mean, did they change that? Or because Chris Kirk and Grazerman, who we'll talk about momentarily, were both T2, even though Chris Kirk was out early on. So that's a good point that you make, Patrick. This tournament, 2020, I had Billy Horschel. I had Siwoo Kim. Everything looks great. I'm going to get the winner. I'm going to cash a ticket. It's COVID. I'm sitting at home. And Jim Herman at 300-1 comes out of nowhere. Jim Herman, who's never been heard from again. I mean, he cost me. That was robbery, Patrick.
He's in the field this week.
He's not winning, and he is not costing me. Jim,
put him on the list.
Congratulations, Jim, if you're watching.
Put him on the list.
He was a fun Twitter follow for a few months, and then he fell off of Twitter too. I don't know why.
Yeah, well, do you remember the tournament, Patrick? Are you with me that was?
Oh, I remember that. He made like a 60-foot eagle putt, I think, late on the back 9 too. No,
it's disgusting.
I hear you.
All right, let's move on to outrights. Enough of me
for
whining.
a while. If you had done, because Jim Herman won, I think 2 events where he was legit, and you said 300-1. I thought he was 500 or 600-1.
Yeah.
If you had totaled up like the most profitable winners for like a 10-year span, I think Jim Herman was near the top. It was like Rory McIlroy and Scotty, or like whoever the best players were, and Jim Herman, just because he won a couple of events, it's such a big number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yes, Zach in the chat says Billy Horschel gave that away. Good memory. Yeah, he did. Siwoo Kim also did his part to give it away. That one's right there with Detroit 2025 in most painful golf losses that I will not forget. All right, let's move on to outrights. Patrick, start it off. You're going to give us this week a couple of names, including one that was talked about earlier, Harry Hall.
Harry Hall, yes. Yeah, I do have to mention this tweet you just put out about the sitcom bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading through these in between breaks. I know less than half of them. I don't know where that puts me at in your book.
Well, if you don't know Seinfeld, there's a good chance you don't know a lot of the sitcoms on that list.
Seinfeld, but I haven't heard of half of these.
Have you watched Community?
No.
Okay, that's a show you'd really like. I think you need to watch Community. Okay, I think it was a 4 seed.
4 seed.
A lot of people thought that was too high, but the committee decided.
I thought it was too high. I was okay.
Okay.
Let's
wanted that.
Let's start with Seinfeld, and we'll work our way down.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay. So to Harry Hall, I guess. Yeah, that's how that transition works. 45-1 for the Englishman in the funny hat. He has been playing awesome golf, Ariel, that is, and he has 8 straight top 30 finishes. He's a great putter. You look at his numbers, you think, okay, maybe he's not the best approach play, but what kind of clubs do you hit here at Sedgefield Country Club? A lot of wedges, and Harry Hall is a solid wedge player. And so I think the driver is improving. I think he'll be able to play out of the fairway enough. And with that solid wedge play and that lethal putting, Ariel is going to win this tournament. And maybe, just maybe, you guys sneak onto that European Ryder Cup team. I have not lost hope yet. I think there's an outside chance he could. And then 66-1. I believe Sia mentioned that CBez could contend. I think earlier he mentioned he doesn't think he's going to win, but I'm going to stick with that. He believes CBS will contend. And I also believe CBS will contend. And so at 66-1, I am willing to put my money on it. Fun little nugget that I have heard from one Mark Immelman, his fellow countryman. Speaking of the caddy carousel, CBS has a new caddy on the bag as of late, and the partnership is going very well. Ooh. They're playing some very good golf. They're very comfortable together. They're very confident together. And when I think of Sedgefield, I think of a player exactly like CBS. Super accurate off the tee, great on improving on approach, and great putting. Top 20 there at the 3M. Played well at the Scottish as well. T22 last year. I love all of that, and I love that price at 66-1.
All right, fair enough. They do not meet the trends, though, which that I gave out. I know how much you buy into those. Sobel, speaking of trends.
I'll see myself out.
Speaking of the do not bet list, Denny McCarthy is like an honorary member whose name is not on there. It's not fair. I mean, I guess I have Cam Young on there. But, like, this guy just does not win. However, finally his price has gotten to the point where, like, this is a pretty bettable number for a guy if he's ever going to break his maiden.
There are a lot of players who have not won on the PGA Tour who we don't bet for a reason because there's a reason they don't win. There's some players who haven't won on the PGA Tour who just haven't won yet. I'm a big believer in Denny McCarthy. His tee to green game has gotten better seemingly every single year, and he maintains being one of the best putters on the PGA Tour. I think 55-1 is a great number on Denny this week. Essentially, anytime you give me a 7,100-yard golf course where you've got to make upwards of 20 birdie putts in a week to win the golf tournament, Denny's almost an auto play for me, especially at this kind of number in this type of field. Look, I know he's not played his best golf in his last two events. I think he missed the cut at both the Scottish and the Open Championship, but links golf is going to neutralize the great putters anyway. You go back to what he did the two events before that. He was 11th and 12th in his last two stateside. So I have no worries about Denny not playing his best golf overseas. And I'm going right back to him. And then Andrew Novak, a home stater, grew up in Raleigh. We talk about Novak and Griffin having won the Zurich together, and Griffin kind of pulled away with the win at Colonial afterwards. I don't think the difference is all that much between them, quite honestly. I think Novak is really good. Would not surprise me to see him get a win here. And then I just look at Bud Cauley, and I know he hasn't been great over the last 2 months, but you look at that profile shape that he's got on Data Golf. If you go to Data Golf, and I love looking at these, it gives you a little shape on where everybody is. And Bud Cauley is like this perfect little parallelogram where he's got just does everything very well. And I think that should work well for this week. 66-1 is a good number. And by the way, shout out to Joe Neuenfeld. I know everyone's going in the chat, giving their favorite sitcoms. Joe brought up Arrested Development, which is absolutely a number one seed for me.
Yeah. I messed up. You'll see the bracket later, Jason.
Okay.
I kind of had that as a lower seed, and there were a lot of mistakes I made. I kind of put it together quickly. Like I didn't put New Girl or Veep on there. I had an explanation. It's in the podcast. But the point is, Arrested Development should have been a higher seed than it was. That's a great show. You're right.
I think Curb was too low for you.
New Girl's a 1 seed, man.
Oh God.
You've definitely never heard of New Girl.
No,
Sia,
I've heard of New Girl. I'm such a Schmidt,
Sia, I kind of like Rasmus Højgaard this week. Just kind of a guy that at some point has to show us something. You're on his brother at 60-1.
Yeah, his brother. So this is, this reminds me, we always associate certain golfers with each other, and then we kind of toggle back and forth with respect to who's better. And I remember when Matthew Wolff and Victor and Colin came out, we were always like, which one of those three is better? And we always kind of changed our mind every few months. I'm just making that comparison because we talk about Nikolai and Rasmus in that regard as well. I do think Nikolai is potentially the better golfer here, but here's the thing. Nikolai doesn't profile well here. Why? Because he's not accurate off the tee. But we have seen some golfers be successful here in spite of the fact that they're not accurate off the tee. Every other box Nikolai checks, especially when you look at his recent form, weighted tee to green, ball striking, mid-iron play, everything. Like he literally checks every box. And so I just could not resist this number at 60-1. He was the last guy out on the first round leader card as well. I just couldn't, I didn't want to put 7 guys on there or 6 guys on there. So really like Nikolai. Jason, you have some follow-up on Nikolai.
Sorry, I was just going to interrupt here. You're breaking the one cardinal rule. There's only one rule in golf betting.
Yeah.
You know what it is? You can't bet Nikolai without betting Rasmus. You can't bet Rasmus without betting Nikolai. Because the minute you bet Nikolai and you don't bet Rasmus, Here comes Rasmus Højgaard for the win.
He's going to be like I told you so.
I got you. Yeah. Sia, I got Rasmus for you. So one of us will win. There you go. Boom.
All right. Well, maybe I'll adopt yours and I'll put a few bucks on Rasmus just to get the right mojo going on Nikolai. But I do think Nikolai could really kind of surprise a lot of people. I think he's an interesting DFS play too, because again, he doesn't profile super well, at least from an accuracy standpoint, and people will avoid him. Grillo, we've talked about a lot. He also checks a lot of the boxes. I absolutely think he can win. And I don't think the top of this board is so intimidating that Grillo can't potentially have a good 4 rounds and get past all those guys. Now, Chris Kirk is an interesting one. I was just going to play him straight up at 90-1, but I was only getting a 10-point reduction with the leaving out the big 5 in this tournament, which is Ben Griffin, Jordan Spieth, Keegan Bradley, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Robert McIntyre. Now, when you look at Grillo and Højgaard's numbers, they dip a little bit more than I wanted to, but with Chris Kirk's number 90 to 80-1, it just made sense for me to take those 5 guys out. Again, I'm not super intimidated by the top of the board, but I still like the 80-1 number on Chris Kirk, so I may as well take it as opposed to the 90. You can play the 90 if you want, but I guess I'm scared enough to go ahead and take the 10-point reduction.
And I want to say this, Sia, about the without markets. Last night, late at night, I'm out here in Arizona, perks of being on the West Coast. I was looking at Fanatics. Fanatics had Aaron Rai that somehow shot up to the top of the odds board at plus 1750. In the without market, he was plus 2300. Somebody didn't do their homework, and I'm sure that's fixed today. Now, I'm not betting Aaron Rai like I did last year. But if you're going to bet some of these longer shots, it doesn't hurt to take a look just to see how much of a difference, as you said. I think it's a great point. And some of my bets, I put Højgaard in there with some tennis people this morning that hit on the without market. Why not? Listen, you gotta throw in pitchers to give up runs and tennis players. Go ahead.
Okay, let me give you a 10-second story. Mike Miller is in the chat. He was watching the DFS show. Mike McClure and I did the DFS show yesterday, and he said, I'm doing a Grillo, because we had mentioned Grillo. He was on Grillo at, I think, 75-1. He said, I did a Grillo Junior Caminero home run parlay, because Caminero was playing last night, just like he's playing tonight, and he was one of our home run props on the early edge on the top 3 home runs per the SportsLine model. 2 minutes later, Junior Caminero hits a home run. So speaking of parlays, and I know we're getting into long shots in a second, Mike Miller is holding a ticket on a Grillo outright in a Junior Caminero home run that is already cashed. Good stuff from the wedge and the edge.
Over 300-1 I saw on that ticket. That makes me so proud when you parlay things like that. All right, so Griffin, we talked about North Carolina guy. He's my pick that I think he's going to win. Jake Knapp could go ham and win this event by 6 strokes if everything goes right. We know that's not going to happen. Let's talk about a guy that was winning here after 3 rounds last year and had probably the craziest 4-hole span that I have ever seen in professional golf. Sobel or Patrick, do you remember what Max Grazerman did 13 through 16 last year?
Wasn't good.
13 through 16. Let me think.
He had a lead.
He was up by at least 2.
Yeah.
16.
There was a cart path involved, wasn't there?
There was on
the par 5.
So the first was a par 4. He holes out from the fairway and makes eagle. My Aaron Rai ticket is dead. And then he steps up to the tee and happens to hit it out of bounds and pulls an EC and gets an 8 on a par 4. Yes. And then he goes to a par 5 and he birdies it. And then he double bogeys the next hole.
Was that a 4 putt on the par 3?
I believe it was. Yes.
I think so.
Yeah.
And then Matt Kuchar made it come back the next day.
That was another story.
Matt Kuchar's still playing the 2024 Wyndham, I think.
The Wyndham Championship always has something that's going on here. I can't believe I'm picking Max Grazerman. I'm probably sick in the head.
How's he not on the list?
Patrick, he should be. 3 straight missed cuts after what he did in Detroit. You know what? He's due. And I don't have any other logic beyond that. I can't give you any trends other than what he did last year.
I'll say this. Golfers are their most dangerous when you're about to put them on the list. Because remember, you almost put Scotty Scheffler on the list.
I did last year. No, I had him. I had Scotty.
Yeah, no, you did last year, and you almost did again this year.
I did. That's correct.
So there's your trend.
Right. There's your trend.
Joseph, nobody will pull a Matt Kuchar 2.0. Like that was an all-time stunt that nobody better pull. If you want to bet Max Grazerman, throw some tennis picks or whatever the early edge dishes out for you tomorrow. Put it in the without mark. I had to. This guy owes me money. He owes me a few $1,000s. And Jim Herman owes me money the other way at this tournament.
EC, be honest with me here.
Yeah.
And this is a judge-free zone, right? I think MD's not watching anymore, so we're good. Have you ever DM'd an athlete?
No, I am not that guy. No.
Okay.
You don't do that because that's just wrong.
Okay.
But
good.
I mean, actually,
clear there.
But Max, but Max, what he did in Detroit, I stayed away from the keyboard for like a good 6 hours. I just was like, I don't want to log. I don't want to read people's tweets. I'm not liking any. I just don't want to see it. It's rare that I unplug. That was one time in life I had to unplug. All right, let's move on to long shots here. Let's see what we have. Sia, you and I have some synergy. And Patrick, one of the guys on your list actually already bet in the without market in Austin Eck GOAT. What do you think about him this week at 110-1?
Nice. I see what you did there. This is a guy who is a 2-time winner on the PGA Tour. This is a guy who is a great course fit for Sedgefield Country Club, finishing solo 6th last year in this tournament. And this is a guy who has shown glimpses that his entire game is about to emerge. He was in the mix at the John Deere Classic, got off to a fast start at the Travelers Championship, and Eckroat, or as EC says, or the kids say, Eckgoat, is primed to surprise at 110-1. And then I'm just rolling with my first round leader, Ben Coles, 175-1. Almost won the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson last year. That is a golf course that might be the most opposite to this one. So I think that bodes well with the trends.
I mean, just, let's go with opposites attract, I guess. Sobel, you're also on Austin Eck GOAT this week.
Yeah, no notes from what Patrick said. He nailed it right there. He's trending in the right direction. He's a guy that has won twice in the last 18 months, and he's got some win equity. So the fact that he's playing better golf, I think that's a really nice number on him. And then Alex Noren, top 10 last week. I know he's never won on the PGA Tour. I know it's been a long time since he's won on the DP World Tour, but I still think there's win equity there. He's 43 years old. I interviewed him, a month and a half ago at the Travelers Championship, and he just seems to be like in a really good spot in his life. He's like coaching softball with his daughter, and he's like, he actually loved being off for like 6 months with that Achilles injury. Because like, I was home with the kids, I was having fun, and now I'm really hungry to get back out here. So I kind of liked his attitude. He's always been one of the harder workers. He's got calluses all over his hands. 90-1, Alex Noren, why not?
See, I always think you're a genius, but this week especially, I think you're a genius because of this synergy that you and I have. William Mao, who you picked to win the alternate event the other week, and then, of course, David Lipsky. Tell us about them both.
Yeah, and I had a sweat on William Mao last week, too. So I bet him, and we won at the ISCO, and then had him last week with Jake Knapp. So I had a couple of guys in the conversation down the stretch, and, of course, we know how that ended up. But William Mao's just playing really good golf, and he can go low at any given moment. So I don't think we really know what the ceiling is for William Mao or what the sustainable ceiling is for William Mao. But if it's anything like what we've seen, he can absolutely win this tournament. I mean, it is a long shot for a reason. And I will say the real number on William Mao is around 150-1. I like 110-1. It's pretty close to 150. Once you get past the hundreds, like I'm pretty much good with the number. So I went ahead and did it without those five: Ben Griffin, Jordan Spieth, Keegan Bradley, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Robert McIntyre. Again, those first two picks, I didn't use the without market. The last three, including these two long shots, I did. David Lipsky, speaking of playing good golf, and I understand it's a small sample size, 4 tournaments in a row where he's gaining across the board. Like David Lipsky is on fire right now. I get him at 120-1 in that without market. It's 170-1 if you want to do it in the with market. Lipsky and Mao are playing really, really good golf, period.
So he is exactly right. This is how to bet David Lipsky and these longer shots like William Mao or the guys that Patrick and Sobel gave out. Bet him in the without market. So it takes out 5 golfers. You're not going to get that much of a difference. Parlay it with something, and you'll really get a big number on it. So I threw in Lipsky at 170-1. If somebody's going to win this, I mean, he's playing good enough golf, and we've seen, I gave some trends earlier in the show that, these guys that have finished in the top 10 in 2 of their last 4 events have won this event 4 years straight. So, let's make a parlay of 4 of them. Let's put Matt Fitzpatrick. Let's put Lucas Glover, who won here a few years ago. William Mao and David Lipsky all in the top 20 at 135-1. You're welcome for the free money. Okay, maybe not. But we're going to take a shot and have a little fun with a 135 to 1 parlay. And if you want to throw Lottie in there from Sobel's pick just to get some, you might get 250 to 1 on that ticket.
Let's do with Lottie.
Put Lottie top 10 in there, minus 120, get 200 to 1, 250 to 1. That is how you become okay, I'm getting up too far ahead of myself. Let's talk about OAD. Sia, you and I, blame me, because last week we were both on Thor. He was an embarrassment. Rick is almost catching me. Patrick should be over 9 million if he knew how to put in picks. Once again, I guess you put in a pick last week, so I guess that's a win. Sobel, look at you moving up the board this week. We're going to let you start us off ahead of Sia here. Who do you got in your OAD this week?
So usually, look, this is very easy for me. I usually go with one of my outrights and try to go all in and pick a winner. And this week I'm going a little bit different because I don't have Ben Griffin in the outright market, but I do like the fact that, home state, everything fits Ben Griffin really well. Sia and I talked about this on the Sunday early wedge show. The fact that I would like Ben Griffin more this week if he hadn't had such a good year. And I know that sounds contradictory, but I feel like he's almost kind of peaked already this year, that if he'd played good golf all year and led up to something, that I would probably like him a little more. I just have a hard time believing that Ben Griffin can go out and win for a third time this year. That said, I really like everything about him on this golf course, and he should play well. And I just want to maintain that lead over Patrick and EC, really.
Yeah. You have the winner this week, so congratulations. Sia. Sure. Keegan Bradley. I mean, he won in Connecticut the other month, is out here hanging out, scouting Ben Griffin. You're going to play him with your 12.6 million.
Yeah, or maybe showing Ben Griffin how it's done. We'll see. Kind of like a teacher-student scenario, but I'm not really enthusiastic about the crop that I was picking from with respect to the one and done. So, I mean, it's not that I love this pick. I almost went Emiliano Grillo just because he was my initial click, my favorite outright. But I think Keegan is going to compete at this course. I like what I'm seeing from him across the board. Obviously, we know he can go out and win tournaments. He's done it recently, but the ball striking looks good. The tee to green stuff looks pretty good. So I think he's a fine pick.
Patrick, Akshay Bhatia, after what he did over the weekend, you talk about somebody that's also getting real close to the do not bet list. It's this guy.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I went into the lab, not the putters or Mike Tomlin's lab, but the lab with producer Josh, my teammate. And I said, who you want to roll with, Josh? And he said, Akshay Bhatia. And I said, okay. And I didn't watch the weekend at the 3M Open, so I was unaware of what occurred. But we're rolling with him. I figured he must have good history at the Wyndham Championship. Guess what? He doesn't. 4 straight missed cuts in 4 tournament appearances. So I think it's just I don't know what it is, EC, but we're rolling with it. We have 3 tournaments left. It's kind of one of those things. We're looking to next year a little bit, trying to find a spark from some guys on our roster, and hopefully Akshay can be that guy this week.
I'm just trying to get closer to Sobel, but it's not looking good. I think my player's going to do well this week, but honestly, I've used most of the guys at the top of the board this week. Previously, Ben Griffin would have been my pick. Sobel is going to move way ahead of me after he wins this week with Ben Griffin. Patrick will move behind me after Akshay Bhatia misses his 5th straight cut at the Wyndham Championship, and Sia is light years above all of us. But I'm going with Fitz. I think he finishes inside the top 10 for the 4th straight event. All right, producer Matt, let's see what you have for the recap screen. As always, this is a gem. While you read this, it is time for my favorite segment of the show, Sobel Storytime from the Wyndham Championship. What do you got?
Not much. Hadn't thought about it. Hadn't gotten to this part of the show. Okay, I'll give you one. This was, I got to think about this. We're at Whistling Straits, and I guess it was a PGA. I have to go back and look. In any case, Tiger Woods. Remember Tiger played the Wyndham one year?
I can't believe he did that, but
it was right after. So the PGA was at Whistling Straits, if I'm remembering all this correctly. Big weather storm comes in at Whistling Straits, and we're running onto a shuttle bus, staying in Milwaukee an hour away, and everyone's just trying to get out of there. I mean, it was torrential rains, and we run in there, and everyone's just. You get on the bus, you're drenched. Everyone's like pissed off because like you didn't finish writing your stories. Now we got an hour-long drive, and I sit down on the bus, and this guy sits down next to me with the biggest smile on his face, and he's just clicking away on his phone. And it was Mark Brazel, the tournament director for the Wyndham Championship. And he's like, oh, my God, this is amazing. Oh, my God. And I'm like, what is it? What's going on? He goes, Tiger's playing our tournament next week. And I was literally like the first one. I'm like, can I go? He's like, give me 5 minutes. Let us get it out there. But yes, I'll let you go with it. So I was right there. I was sitting next to him on a bus when Tiger Woods committed to the Wyndham Championship. I'm guessing he missed the cut at the PGA at Whistling Straits. I'm not sure I'm even remembering any of this correctly, but I was definitely next to him on a bus. It was raining out, and he was ecstatic because Tiger was coming to the Wyndham next week.
Wow. I don't know. How did he do? Do we know how he did? I think it was 2015?
At the Wyndham?
Yeah.
All I remember is I believe he holed out a flop shot on number 10 once. He had it's in all the highlights. Flop shot.
Davis loved the third one. And I'm trying to find Tiger on here. And I
think it's 15. 15 makes sense.
He was T10. Yeah. He was T10. Yeah.
Missed the cut at the PGA. Next week was the Wyndham. Okay, so I was on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad. Davis Love beat Jason Gore, a name from the past. Yeah. I mean, hey, listen, that's a fun. Have you ever been to this event, Sobel?
I've not.
If there was just as we delay, so we leave the recap screen up just a little bit longer. Of all the PGA courses, you've gotten a chance to play a bunch of them. Is there one that you haven't played yet that you really want to?
To play.
It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it is a tough one. I've played a handful. I probably haven't played as many as you would think. I've never played Waialae, and I've been there a lot for the Sony Open. Like, just off the bat, like, that would be a really cool one. I like the old style, kind of like cool track. Like, some of the, 7,600-yard big ballparks. I'm like, what am I going to do on this golf course? Like, you're like, it's just going to be way too hard. But, like, Waialae, like a place like that, it's like, keep in the fairway, and, like, we could have a good time out here. It would be pretty fun. So, that's probably up there on the list. Like Muirfield Village, like, beautiful course, been there a lot. If someone invites me, I'll go play it. I'm going to get my butt kicked at Muirfield Village. I mean, I've got buddies who are scratch handicaps who have played out there, shot 90 something. I mean, it's really, really difficult. So for me, like, would that be fun? Sure. It's still have fun playing golf, and I'd go do it. But yeah, like a Waialae. I mean, I played Hilton Head. I've played or Harbortown. I've played TPC River Highlands. Colonial would be really fun. I'd like to do that.
Patrick, if there's one PGA Tour course, not a major course, so not Augusta, if there's one that you would really want to play, where would it be?
Probably Kapalua.
Yeah, I have friends that have played Kapalua and said it's just awesome.
Yeah.
That 18th hole where you can hit it a mile, even though I'd probably find a way to not make
that seems like a fun course to play.
Plus you're in Hawaii. Who's going to argue with that?
Yeah.
Sia, what's coming up the rest of the week? What do we have going on? And tell us also about the fantasy league thing, just because, different audience here. You promote that for St. Jude.
Yeah, I mean, the FFT Open, it's largely full, although there are some spots open in other people's leagues if people still want to join. It's a pretty big contribution. Again, it's to St. Jude, so it's an amazing cause, but it's $250 to get into that. Most of the leagues are full, but they're not all full. If anybody wants to get in, it is, for all those out there, a tax write-off. Obviously, it's a charitable contribution, but yeah, that's coming up. Those that are in my league, we're going to be sending out emails and getting things together and maybe trying to pick out a draft date very soon. As far as the rest of the week, we've got the live chat tomorrow at 4. Rick is not doing that one, so it's going to be me and Mike McClure. So we're going to talk about everything you need to know. And then, of course, Sunday we'll be doing the live show as well with some of this crew right here. I do also want to mention a lot of the people watching are Early Edge watchers as well. We still have 2 days to vote for the Early Edge for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. It takes 45 seconds or less to vote. It's pinned to my profile. All you got to do is go to podcastawards.com, click the sign up to vote button. It's like literally that easy. And then you just put in an email basically, and you put Early Edge as the best male hosted podcast, and you're done. You can vote for other stuff too if you want, but you don't have to. 45 seconds or less. The instructions are pinned to my profile. I'd appreciate it if people went and spent less than a minute on voting for the Early Edge.
Let's get it. Let's award the Early Edge. We all appreciate what you guys do every day, Sia. So great job there. Thanks to all of you in the chat. You guys killed it as you do every week. If you are new to this show, please make sure to follow the SportsLine page and like this video. Please do that before you sign off. Guys, another great show. Producer Matt behind the scenes, you are awesome. The graphics every week, the way this show goes, it's super easy. So For Jason Sobel, Patrick McDonald, and Sia Nejad, I am Eric Cohen. Thanks for listening. And as I always like to say, let's hit it big. Good luck.